This is the Illiac Suite, a podcast on AI-driven music. Join me as we dive into the ever-evolving world of AI and music, where algorithms become the composers and machines become the virtuosos. Yes, this music and text was written by a computer, and I am not real, but
I am, and my name is Dennis Kastrup. Hello humans, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 dollars. Let that sink. In words, $500 billion. And when I say this to you, you probably realize pretty quickly that I'm talking about Stargate, the investment of 3 major AI companies that happened last week. To be named in person: OpenAI with CEO Sam Altman, SoftBank with CEO Masayoshi Son, and Oracle with Chairman Larry Ellison. All those 3 people were standing next to President Trump, while Elon Musk was raging about that in the media afterwards. 500 billion. Okay, I get it, because that is the future and it makes totally sense to invest in AI. But more and more I get the feeling that we forget about the urgent problems of our times in societies in which people are struggling with everyday life. I mean, shouldn't that be the first investment? Says the person talking about AI in this podcast. This is the Illiac Suite. A new year about AI and music is starting today. Hello to all of you. I'm happy that you are still with me after this crazy 2024 in AI and music. And it starts with a quote that shook the music world. Suno AI CEO Mikey Schulman said in the podcast 20VC, quote,
"It's not really enjoyable to make music now. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. You need to get really good at an instrument or really good at a piece of production software. I think the majority of people don't enjoy the majority of the time they spend making music."
And because it was not enjoyable for me to search for the real quote in that podcast, because it takes a lot of time to listen to all that, I just took an AI to reread it for you. So, is it a scandal, what he just said? Of course not. What else should he say? I mean, he is just selling his product. Imagine a washing machine producer saying, "Oh, people should really wash their clothes with their hands because it is so much fun." That would be stupid. I mean, he would literally tell the people to stop buying his product. Although washing your clothes with your hands is really no fun, I can tell you this. And making music is, on the other side, so much fun for people who love it. Of course, Schulman knows this. And of course, he knows that saying what he said, the web goes wild and talks about it all over the place. Everybody wants to discuss this. Another free advertisement for Suno. Talking about Suno, finally, after some words before, the German GEMA sued Suno and Udio because they claim both companies copied works they are representing. The GEMA is the German version of the ASCAP, that organization that collects and distributes royalties for songwriters, composers, and music publishers in the United States. Let's see where this will lead us in the end. To be continued. I keep you updated here. But what do I have for you today in the Illiac Suite? I was hanging around the wonderful Reeperbahn Festival in Hamburg last September, a showcase festival for a lot of great bands, where you also talk about new trends in the music industry. And it happened on a warm, late summer evening that I met Sebastian Murgul. He started a company that transcribes music to notes. I wish I had recorded that conversation back then, because it was so fascinating and interesting. Well, we did this conversation again. We tried to copy it again. So this is the Illiac Suite about Klang.io, the company of Sebastian. This is the recording of our conversation. And this is Sebastian. He tells you more about Klang.io.
I'm the
CEO and co-founder of the startup Klang.io. We are currently based in Karlsruhe, Germany. And what we are doing is we are using artificial intelligence to transcribe audio from music, also music from audio into sheet music, so written down, notated music. So this means you can just upload an audio file or record yourself and get sheet music right away within just a few seconds. Well, what was my way to get there? So I'm kind of a hobby musician myself. I had guitar lessons when I was 6 for like 12 years or so. And I was doing more like the classical guitar stuff and flamenco and so on. And so music was also always very important for me. And I'm also a technician because I studied electrical engineering here at the KIT, the university here in Karlsruhe. And I was always wondering how could music be combined with signals, with computer science, because in the end, music is also not only art, but also math, and you can calculate music. There's a lot of algorithmic music available out there. And this was always something that was very interesting to me. But how the initial idea for Klang.io came to my mind was actually inspired by my little sister, who plays the keyboard, and it was in like 2015 when she got her new keyboard, and on that piano there was a little melody stored that she could just listen to with a playback function, but there was no way to get the notes that were played or the keys she should hit to display them. So she asked me if I could help her, and as an electrical engineering student who does not have perfect pitch, I took an oscilloscope app, recorded parts of the musical piece, and then used it to measure the frequencies that were used and then calculate the note's pitch and write all of that down onto musical paper. So this whole process took me like a lot of hours, and then I finally got there, and I asked myself, isn't there an easier way to achieve that? And this was the way, my passion started for music transcription. I searched in the app stores if there is something similar available, but I haven't found any app that could do that at that time. But also I heard about something like Fourier transformation, which is a mathematical method to figure out the frequencies that are present in a signal, in an audio signal. And I got myself in there and learned more about signal processing, about the math behind that, and it all got me hooked, and I just got lost in that topic. And then the whole AI thing came up. It was in 2017, 2018 when the first AI deep learning frameworks came up, and I thought to myself, is there a way to connect these two topics? And it's very interesting. A lot of research accelerated since then, and a lot of new AI models came up, and they all got available by, for example, being open source or being proposed in papers that I could read as a student. And it's a very interesting topic. Yeah.
very interesting. And like what, first of all, for our listeners to understand what Klang, Klang means, it means sound in German. And it's called Klangio, like IO in the end. So it's connected to sound. I just wanted to point this out because it's really interesting that you use that word. So this application now is running. What were the challenges from the moment on when the AI was coming up? Maybe to summarize this in a simple way, how did you step forward from that moment on? And I also know you have different products you offering, and we get into this a little bit later. Like, what were the challenges, and how do you were able to face those challenges and now be able to offer that product you have?
Since music transcription is a very complicated and very complex problem, the first thing I did with my signal processing background is divide this problem into sub-problems that I could solve. So we don't have an end-to-end model that gets audio and outputs sheet music. We have an AI system that solves different subtasks, like, for example, identifying sounds and when they were played, and define the pitch of these sounds, these notes, analyze the rhythmic structure of the music. So, for example, which time signature do we have? What is the tempo? When does a musical bar start? Especially with time in seconds, to all get synchronized and fused with harmonic information like the musical key and the chord that were used. And all this information get then fused into a readable and playable sheet music. So we don't have one model that does all of that. We have a lot of models that solve these sub-problems. And this is also the reason why we are able to just swap out these building blocks and create new applications for new instruments. For example, we have an app for piano to notes. We have an app for guitar to taps. But there's also an app for drum to notes. And drums is a whole different sound. You don't have the harmonic sound with a fundamental frequency and overtones that are integral multiple of the fundamental frequency. So these horizontal structures that you can see in your spectrogram. So spectrogram, this is an image that shows in the X direction the time, and the Y direction is the pitch. And this is the foundation of audio analysis. You always, or in most cases, first calculate these images and then do something similar to image processing, which did a lot of big jumps in the 2010.
Okay, it's really interesting to listen to you, because yes, I think music is very complex. Music has so many layers also. Let me get this right, if I got this right, because there's so many models working on this. Do you, first of all, when there is, for example, like there's a piano sheet, yes, you can identify the piano notes and you can put it into notes. Is it possible also to put in like a whole song and get the notes out of this? Because the whole song has different layers of music, piano, guitar, bass, whatever. And is it possible first? And if so, do you have to separate this the different instrument before?
That's a lot more difficult than the easiest thing you could have is just a piano playing a tune, and maybe it's a monophonic, so only one note is playing at a time, melody, and you figure out the notes for that. And when you have not only just a piano, but also like vocals and drums and bass, it gets very complicated. That's something that we were not able to solve for a long time, but finally in December we launched our new app, the Klangio Transcription Studio, which enables you to just do what you said, input a whole song and get the score with the parts for each instrument. in just one score, in just one step. You don't have to do some source separation in advance. You can just input the mix and get your sheet music out of that. But what's always possible is to do some source separation before, like with tools with like Moises, and you get the stems for your instruments and then upload these stems to our apps and get the sheet music from there.
So let us take us by the hand a little bit. Like, let's say I have a melody, I have something I want to transcribe. How does it work practically when you go on your app or your homepage? What do you have to do?
Let's say you have your melody, your music as an MP3 file. You just go onto our website. There's a drop field where you can just drag and drop the audio file into, for example, in the new transcription studio. Then you get guided through our transcription wizard, where you can select the instruments that you want to transcribe. Then you can enter if it's a solo or a multi-instrument recording, because we do some advanced filtering if it's a multi-instrument recording in advance. Then, depending on the musical instruments, you have some more information you can input. Like for piano, we have two types of models. One more optimized for classical sheet music, one more optimized for pop music. You can enter if you want some more detailed sheet music with like pedal activity, or if you're just interested in the notes, the bare notes. If you're using guitar, there are even more advanced options. You can choose if you're having a finger picking recording or strumming recording. You can define the tuning that should be used if there's a capo, and then the AI takes on from that and does the rest for you.
And like for who is it now? Like, who needs a sheet of notes from a music that's maybe probably already out there, and people who already have the sheets don't need it, that's for sure. But who needs that kind of software then?
We thought it is more like a niche application, and only a few musicians, maybe composers, need it. But at the time we launched it and we got feedback from our users and were able to identify the users, we found out that actually there are a lot of people interested in music transcription. So most of our users are hobby musicians that want to find out the sheet music, the notes from existing songs. In most of the cases, the sheet music isn't available anywhere. So you would either have to write down the notes down by yourself or use an app like ours to figure out the notes for you. But there are also professional musicians, artists, music producers, transcribers, or music teachers that are using our app. For example, music teachers play in a specific exercise for the students, get the sheet music, give that to the students, and they can exercise at home.
Is that on the sense, like, I'm just wondering, is it legal to do this? I'm just asking in the sense, like, is it legal to take any piece of music and transcribe the notes? I have no idea, to be honest. It's just a simple question I never thought about. Is it possible to, I don't know, if I listen to somebody and I write it down and then I don't know what I can do with it, I have no idea. But is there some legal, like things going on around this I'm not aware of? You can tell me right now?
That's a very important question. And of course, we have some lawyers and legal advisors that are researching this case, or did some research in this case for us. But in the end, it comes down to, if you're using the transcription for yourself, so privately, it doesn't matter if you own the copyright or not. If you want to publish the transcription, you need to have the copyright for the sheet music. For us, it's like we are a tool that you can use to create the sheet music. And in our terms of use, we say, okay, you have to own the copyright if you want to publish it. But if you just want to use it privately, you can just do so.
I've talked to so many artists in my life, and not a lot. Some of them keep telling me also, oh, you know what? I'm a musician since 30 years, but I never learned to play with notes. I never did this before in my life, and I'm sometimes really surprised because those are really well-known musicians. Is that also something for these kind of musicians that they say, okay, I can finally see kind of what I'm doing? Is that interesting for them to use the application to see their notes and their piece of art in a different way?
Absolutely. We make music visible, and you don't only have the sheet music as PDF or something like that. You have a digital music score, and you can also view it in alternative ways. Like there's a viewer for piano rolls in our apps, so you can just see the piano blocks, the note blocks falling down on the keyboard, and you see where you have to press. So if you don't read sheet music, you can also use that. And of course, a lot of guitarists don't know sheet music and are more into tablatures. That's why we also support tablatures. But a lot of people come to us and ask us if we would like to support some alternative views on that music, like for example a flute, and you have some Guitar Hero-like view where note blocks fly over the holes, and you know when to press, and you can interactively practice. But to be honest, as a business, of course, it comes down to what is actually used by most of the people and who is willing to pay for that feature.
Do people still exist who do this as a job, like transcribe music? I have no idea. Can you help me there?
Yes. There are big companies that do this most of the time together with freelancers that listen to the music for you and write down the notes. There's also a huge section on Fiverr. And I know that some people on Fiverr actually use our tools to create a first version. Then they do some fine-tuning, make it a little bit more pretty, and then they sell it to their customers.
You just described probably how so many people use AI these days. They use it for a first version, and then they work it over again for the perfect version, the human touch. That means on the other side that there are some mistakes in your sheets, right?
Yes, there are definitely some mistakes in our sheets. It strongly depends on the quality of your recording and on the musical complexity. For training our AI, we currently totally rely on synthetic data that we generate ourselves from scratch. So the realism of our training data is somewhat limited. What we are currently trying to do is build some sort of data set as an investment firm where musicians can just record themselves and with some given lessons or given sheet music. Then we use this recording, analyze the quality if they're suited for our data set. And if it's suited, they get included in our data set. And then they get a revenue share on our on the app where the model is used. What's very interesting about that is that we don't need the big artists, we don't need professional musicians, we need real recordings. That's why we collaborate with the music university here in Karlsruhe. Well, a lot of students are happy to have some job where they get some more money to finance their studies. And that's something that I find very interesting, to include musicians or the music of musicians in data set and let them have a share from the model that you create with it.
For me, data sets are a lot of the times millions of songs to train something. And you tell me you don't need that many, right?
No, because we do this extensive pre-training with our synthetic music. We just need fewer but more realistic and more diverse recordings of real humans playing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's a big advantage. Talking about real humans, is it also possible for you to, if I would sing something right now, that you can transcribe it?
Absolutely. With our app Sing to Note, that's no problem. To be honest, our app is really honest to you. And if you don't hit the pitches, it will say you so.
Okay, so what does it mean? So I sing and then it looks at it and tells it to me, or I sing and does tell me while I'm singing I'm not a good singer?
No. If you sing, you record it with the app and then you get the sheet music from it. That's the whole thing. And there is also a playback, so you can listen back to the original audio and to the transcription and then sort of compare if it really is the same for you. And since it's singing is very difficult, and hitting the right pitch is also very difficult, especially I'm not sure if you're a trained singer. Are you?
No, I will not sing for you, that's for sure. I was just imagining, because this is something I thought about for this app is really nice, because there are so many musicians who record themselves and they do this, I don't know, at 3 o'clock going home from a party, and a melody comes in, and these days it's beautiful because you can just sing into your phone, and they can already just put it down into notes. And maybe also because of this, it's easier for them to create a whole sheet where other musicians can play the music and already join in to play a big thing. So, which is a nice example of how to use your sheets.
Yeah, actually, there was a music producer in LA that reached out to us, who had some music notes. It was like 3,000 music notes of him playing the piano over the last 20 years. And he reached out to us and said, "Hey, I have some melodies, some ideas, and I collected them over the last 20 years. But now I want to create a new album. And can you help me figuring out the MIDI notes so I can produce it with my DAW software?" And he sent us all the recordings. We returned the MIDI files, and then he created his new album. It was a very cool story.
And is there something like in the application which works better than the others? Let's say like piano, melody. I'm just looking at the homepage here. A drum note is different. Singing. Which one? What works the best? What is the easiest way for an AI to transcribe?
piano is absolutely the easiest way, because your instrument is tuned by a professional, so it's in tune. You have clear transients. It's a clear hit when you hit the key, and you. Yeah, but that's it, I think. And the only thing that's more difficult for in piano music is that you can play more tones at the same time. For example, for guitar music, you can play only 6 strings at the same time with a standard guitar. With a piano, you could, in theory, play 88 keys at the same time. But if that makes sense in a musical way, I'm not sure.
And when you have these transcriptions, can you also work on the sheet then, like arranging? Well, I guess you can, arranging the notes differently because you realized, okay, this is not the right note.
We actually integrated a sheet music editor in our apps, which helps you solve the most common mistakes that our AI does. One example is there might be an overtone of a note sound at the same time that we mistakenly identified that you can just delete with one click. Or another example is sometimes the AI does not pick up the anacrusis, the pickup bar, at the right position, and the whole sheet music is shifted with like one beat before or after, and you can just correct that with just a click. And then you get your music XML file, which you can just download and use with your other tools that you use with sheet music, and you can do whatever you want.
You just mentioned a couple of questions before that you said, like, oh, there are existing companies who work in that field of transcribing notes. How do you feel about this? Because this is an ongoing question in every kind of surrounding concerning AI. If it's if you translate something, if you make music, if you make music for films or picture generating, how do you feel personally about this? I mean, I know you're doing your business, but is that something that not concerns you, but yet you think about, that you take away jobs with your work?
I do think about that quite regularly, to be honest. I spoke to a lot of musicians, artists, and also transcribers that do that for a living, and asked them, hey, what do you think about that? Is that something that worries you, or is it something that you say, hey, there's enough transcriptions in the world so that everyone can do their share. And I think right now it's so that there's a little quality difference between professional transcribers and AI apps, and the professionals can provide the perfect sheet music. The AI delivers very fast, but only to a certain quality level. And right now it's a perfect combination, because the professional transcribers can use our tool to create a first version, then do the fine-tuning and deliver that to their customers so they can transcribe faster. Typically, a professional transcriber, it takes them like 8 hours or so for a 3 minutes piano recording, so it's a very time-consuming process. And if he can reduce the time with our app to like half an hour or 1 hour, it's a huge time saver for them. So it's a win-win situation. But if you think more into the future, and if our app would be able to create really perfect transcriptions with no mistakes, I think the jobs will, of course, shift a little bit. And of course, it's one way a musician could make money that gets reduced.
But on the other hand, you create jobs for the I don't know if you call it jobs, but for the musicians who play the music, I think it's not a well-paid job. It's just some add-on money, I guess, right? It's not a job to play for you and give you the sounds.
Yeah, it's an add-on money, more like you can invest with your music into the model and you get your share. And maybe that's something that cancels out. But of course, this offer is some sort of locally limited. You need to know from that we are collecting recordings, and you need to come to us and or we have to work with you, and there's definitely not enough jobs or recordings that we would like to make for every musician out there.
Talking about future, maybe you can tell me also, is there some instruments that you think they're really difficult for us? I mean, you have those on your page, that's okay, but maybe there's some other instruments, because the world is full of instruments. And maybe also if there is a difference in the genres, like is it more difficult to, I don't know, is it more easy to put down Schlager piano than I wanted to say heavy metal piano, but it doesn't really exist. But you know what I mean? Are there differences in of course in the instruments that are more easy? Well, you just said it. You talked about this with the ones you have on your page, but you want to do and you're not able to do right now. And also maybe in musical styles. Did you think about maybe music from India is more difficult to transcribe? Is there some relation there or not?
There are some instruments that are more difficult than others, like for example violin, because violin does not have that clear transient like a piano or a guitar. And there are also different genres that are more complex, like you mentioned heavy metal. Metal guitars are very fast playing, a lot of distortion. That's really difficult. There are also challenges when it comes to produced songs, because there's a lot of mixing, a lot of filters that you apply to your instrument. And right now it works the best if you have an acoustic version, a clean recording with all the instruments that is not heavily edited. But for example, in EDM music, that's not the case. It's hard to identify what is the bass or what is the lead instrument. It's not the instrument, the real instrument that you have to detect, more the functional instrument. Like, is it a low tone, or is it some sort of higher catchy melody that is playing? But when we look a bit further, right now we are focusing on Western music. There's also Makam music. In the Arabic world, there is all the not half tone, but microtonality. It's what it calls. That's some sort of micro intervals where you don't have half tone relations between your tones, but like 7 pitches between a full tone step. And that's something which is very common in the Eastern world. And that's something that a lot of applications don't look at.
Okay, yeah. So there are differences, worldwide differences in the music, which are challenges for your application. That's interesting. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And did you ever check if they can, if it can transcribe AI music pretty good?
That works surprisingly well. If you put something in from Suno or Udio, you get really good results with the Klangyo Transcription Studio. that's something that might be a cool application in the future.
Okay. But yeah, but I was thinking it works good because Suno and AI just work on, they just generate kind of clear sounds in the way that they have learned clear sounds. That's what I was thinking. You know, they have just this, I don't know, mathematical rules which they apply, and of course an AI who knows these mathematical rules knows how to apply these mathematical rules on other AIs. That's why it is not so surprising for me. But you say it surprised you.
It surprised me because I thought there are a lot of artifacts in the music because it's not perfectly generated. I think, especially for vocals, you're sometimes able to hear out these artifacts, and it sounds a little bit strange to the ear. Of course, they got better over the last month, but I think it's very funny that an AI creates music for an AI, and
interesting. Yeah,
that's a use case.
Well, that's what we are heading to: AI using AI for AI to use AI. That's where we're heading to. That's what I see on the horizon. One last question I have. I'm really curious about this also. Let's talk about the great pianists in the world. I mean, is it more challenging for your AI to transcribe the better you play? Let's say a Glenn Gould a Glenn Gould piece. Is it more difficult the more complex you play, or the better you play, or is it easier because they just play so good?
There are two sides that you have to look at. Of course, music. On the one hand, music by these world-class pianists is very complex, and they are flexing. They do cool stuff, and it's very complex and complicated and difficult. But on the other hand, they have the ability to perfectly perform these pieces. So it is very tightly played. So this makes it easier for the rhythmic analysis, but since it might be faster and more tones played at the same time, it might be harder to detect the notes that were played. On the guitar, on the other hand, if you look at flamenco players, they are able to perfectly play. Flamenco players are able to play very tight and very clean, which makes it a lot easier than an amateur guitar player playing an easy piece. So it really depends on the musical instrument.
What is the future view of what you want to transcribe? I mean, we already touched it a little bit. Like, is there some things we can? I mean, you said you launched this like where you can put on a whole song, but is there some things on the horizon? Which would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Personally, right now I'm just about to finish my PhD, and my PhD is focused on guitar music transcription. So that's something that I put a lot of effort into, transcribing all the nuances of acoustic guitars. And when I finish this project, I can focus more on other new stuff. And something that I personally find very interesting is choral music with multiple singers singing at the same time. Also EDM is very interesting, where you have more sort of functional view on the music, and you display other stuff. But also more supporting more instruments, especially more niche instruments like, for example, trumpet or other brass instruments would be very interesting. So there's a lot to do in getting broader, supporting more instruments, but also going more in depth and supporting more features, more details in that specific kind of music.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
That was the new episode of the Illiac Suite. Thanks, Sebastian Murgul, for talking to me about Klang.io. Go and check them out. They are doing a really, really good job. And just to be fair, there are also other AIs out there which do the same thing. But I highly recommend Klang.io. If you have any feedback, if you want to tell me something, if you're mad, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you want to just talk to me, write me an email. The address is mail@theilliacsuite.com. mail@theilliacsuite.com. I'm looking forward to hear from you what you think, what you want to say. And also follow this podcast, like, share, and tell your friends. Maybe also your neighbors next door. Ring at their door, bring them a beer and have a nice chat. I mean, a real chat with a real person. This way you will also have a nice evening and you can tell them, listen to the Illiac Suite if you're interested in AI and music. That's it for today. Take care and behave, humans.